Hi, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for taking the time out to attend this masterclass. This is a really good opportunity to share with you some of my experiences working with clients who struggle with stress and anxiety, and how my work in this area can help you too. I'm going to talk a little about stress, a little about anxiety, how it works, how it doesn't work. In this masterclass, I'm going to share with you my 5-step method for resetting anxiety so you benefit from a clear, calm, and focused mind. Why reset? Why not eliminate or overcome? Surely that's better. I say reset because anxiety is a state of mind, a reaction to internal and external pressures. Now, we're all going to feel pressure at some point in our lives. But also, everyone has a natural default setting that best supports their own version of focus and clarity. What we're focused on here in this masterclass is helping you shift from reaction to a healthier and more supportive response mode. And it's there. It's a matter of access and believing it's available to you. It's about mastering your mind so you understand your own inner dialogue and the part it plays in creating your inner state. And then how you can best work with your mind, the subconscious mind in particular, to find creative solutions. What are some of the emotions that anxiety and stress bring in their wake? Fear, uncertainty, apprehension, feeling trapped, feeling panicked, feeling stuck. For a start, acknowledging these emotions is useful. And that's important to acknowledge the emotions, but our goal is to move beyond them. Think of the difference between a map and a compass. If you think of a map, there's a definite border, a boundary that outlines the terrain. As you shift within the space, it becomes familiar. Having a good map can help to understand and navigate the terrain, but you can end up going around in circles around the same old landmarks. How can you get to new ground? How do you get to break through to new ground? What would provide a stronger sense of direction? A compass. The tools I'm going to share with you in this masterclass will do more than help you understand anxiety. They'll give you an internal compass to shift the boundaries of the map so you can break through those borders and chart new paths forward. So who is this for? This masterclass is for you if you want to let go of the fear that you'll never be able to let go. You want to live life the way you really want to, with no holdups, no regrets. You have tried self-help books, therapy, meditation, everything under the sun, but anxiety still gets the upper hand. You are open to finding new ways to respond to change more positively, and you're looking for new ways to exercise more choice. This masterclass is not for you if you want a quick fix solution and immediate answers to life's challenges. You don't believe that what you put into life, you receive in return. You're not interested in using your gifts and talents to their full potential. I really want you to get the most out of today's presentation, so make sure you find a quiet spot free from TV, social media, have your phone on Do Not Disturb. This is time and space for you. Find someplace free from distractions. During the course of this masterclass, I'm going to invite you to take part in a challenge. This may sound counterintuitive, but I'm going to recommend that you don't take any notes. I would like to invite you to just sit and listen for the next 20 minutes or so. When the recording is finished, get a pen and paper, sit down and write for 5 minutes. Your impressions, your recollections, what memories, what impulses come to mind. Just listen and absorb throughout the presentation and let your mind flow freely for 5 minutes of writing at the end. And I promise you, this will yield some real surprises. Do stress and anxiety have a definition? Well, yes, they do. Of course they do. But for the purposes of this presentation, I want to focus less on the definition and more on the experience. How this plays out and how this affects your working life how this makes you feel when you wake up in the morning, how you sleep, whether or not you sleep, how this affects your relationships with your family and friends. Stress and anxiety mainly filter through the amygdala. The amygdala is a small part of the brain with a big job. It's basically located, say, if you go right down just below your eye, and you go back just to that point to your temple where your ear attaches. And you imagine going into the inner part of your brain. That's the location of the amygdala. The term amygdala comes from Latin and translates as almond. So it's a small almond-shaped part of the brain located, as we said, just below that center temple point in the interior of your brain. So imagine going into that space and finding that small almond shape. The amygdala is the part of the brain that's most closely associated with fear, emotions, motivation. One of its main jobs is to process emotions. The amygdala is a main player in the limbic system, and it works in tandem with what's called the hippocampus, which is the part of your brain that stores memories. It's the center of the brain, the amygdala, which generates the fight or flight response when overstimulated by stress or anxiety. In short, it's the alarm center of the brain, and it taps into the primitive part of the brain, which, when it comes up against a perceived threat, it steps up because it wants to protect you. So in essence, your brain always responds to perceived threats. But the thing to ask yourself is this a genuine response? Or am I reacting on a recycled set of reflexes, if you will? A recycled set of actions, modes of being. If you find yourself in the fight, flight, or freeze zone, you are in reaction mode. The aim of this masterclass is to help you shift out of that zone and get more of the response mode on your side, that natural default setting in which you can best respond. Let's start with your thoughts. Can you control your thoughts? The short answer to that is simply no. Trying to control your thoughts is like trying to control the weather. When feeling caught in a bind, our thoughts resemble this image, fractured frame, endless, frustrating loops. Thought creates feeling, feeling creates behaviors, and behaviors create actions and outcomes in your life. It's not about controlling your thoughts. It's about how you engage with them. And you always have a choice about how you engage with them. And when you engage with them in a healthy way, you gain more of your desired outcomes. So what makes this different? It's more than mindset. I like to call it a reset for mindset. My name is Carrie Caldwell, and I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, and life coach. Hypnotherapy is the mainstay of my practice, and I am trained specifically in the RTT method, Rapid Transformational Therapy, a method of hypnotherapy founded by a woman called Marissa Peer. I spent many years trying to overcome recurring spirals of anxiety and overwhelm that were undermining my capacity and ability to get the things done that I wanted to do in the world. I'm going to share the same 5-step method I used to find a real solution for myself and now use to help others. I want to help as many people as possible to wake up in the morning or go to bed at night without the weight of stress or the onset of panic. Imagine being able to feel in control, secure, and that you have a sense of direction rather than always feeling buffeted by forces outside of your control, never being able to get the upper hand. Imagine what it would be like to be able to play with a free hand, a free and open hand, a free and open hand to receive all the opportunities available to you. Stress and anxiety are responses to life events and circumstances. For example, conflicts in relationships, bereavement, illness, change of life, changing jobs, redundancy, retirement, unhealthy working environments, financial strain and pressure. Stress often manifests as a list. There is just too much to do, and the brain is entirely overrun. Anxiety often registers in the body and announces itself by way of symptoms: agitation, increased heart rate, sweating, shaking, wanting to hide. Both stress and anxiety intersect with overwhelm and tap directly into that instinctive and physiological reaction of fight, flight, or freeze. This list was compiled during a recent live presentation where I asked the attendees, what makes you feel stressed in the world? What makes you feel anxious? Here are some of the responses. Now, if you just start reading down this list, this is what you are bombarded with on a daily basis: information overload, multiple and sometimes conflicting claims on your attention. Just reading down this list makes my body begin to contract and my mind start to feel like it's in a pressure cooker. Just think of how this works on the axis of mind-body overwhelm, teetering back and forth. Just think of how this compounds stress and anxiety on a daily basis. The mind wants to do its utmost to help you. But if you feel you keep knocking on the same door and getting the same things delivered to your doorstep that you don't really want, it's time to take a step back and ask, what am I really telling my mind? Let's say you want X, but you keep telling yourself reasons for not having it. Let's take an example. Let's say you want to do a course. You want X. I really want to do this course. Well, okay, if this does happen, if I do this course, then I'm looking at, I've already dropped out of college twice. It's a big financial commitment. Can I really live up to it? Do I really need this course? Or am I just telling myself this because I feel I'm not good enough as I am? I don't have enough. Do I really have genuine interest here? So you want X, you keep telling yourself why, and you start inventing scenarios. You talk yourself out of it, and then you berate yourself later for not having done it. And you feel you've lost the chance. When you do this, you're setting up a conflict zone. The mind cannot hold conflicting beliefs or thoughts. They cancel each other out. And you end up in stasis, staying the same no matter what you do. This starts to feel self-defeating. As an RTT hypnotherapist, I help my clients to uncover old beliefs so they can rewrite their story and regain their focus for bigger and better things. These are the 5 steps that I've developed that have helped my clients work their way to the other side of anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. I use the acronym RESET to work down through the steps. Let's have a quick look at these steps one by one. First step, recognize anxiety as a state. You'll often hear people talk about my anxiety. My anxiety means I can't really commit to this. It will throw me off balance. Every time this happens, my anxiety kicks in. Then this happens, this happens, this happens. Recognize anxiety as a state. Avoid saying my anxiety. Anxiety is a state, not an identity. Focus more on what has triggered a state where you feel anxious. What is the event? What are the circumstances that have brought this into being? Recognize that this is a perception. It's not a script written out for you that you have to follow. It's a perception of an event or situation that brings a story with it. Step number 2, engage your voice and interrupt your story. What is happening right now that I feel anxious? Run through the story. Look at the scenarios that are playing out in your mind. You'll see that the tendency will be to go back and start at the beginning. That's because the mind feels starting at the beginning gives it a different set of circumstances. Engaging with the beginning again gives it a better chance of getting a better ending. But that doesn't tend to happen. What happens is you get stuck in reruns that reinforce the frustration. Flip that by starting from where you are now. Now, that's going to be a very uncomfortable place. It will be starting at the place where you feel you ended up with a state of anxiety, ended up with an undesired outcome, very uncomfortable. But that's your starting point. This will allow you to see the situation from an unfamiliar angle, and it will give you a place to really look at those events and really understand what's underlying them. This is not to deny the actuality of the events and any difficulty and any pain they may have caused, but you can change your interpretation of these events. This will give you a new emotional gauge and give you a new start. Step number 3, scan your mind and body for old thoughts and behaviors that bring you to a place where you feel anxious. I like to think of these as artifacts, residual patterns and behaviors that have a history. Therefore, they have a familiarity, and therefore they have a claim on your attention. They've been there so long that they claim their own importance in a way. You can mentally start to sift out these fragments. You can mentally take these fragments and lay them aside, just as though you were on an archaeological dig. Just start to sift through, take out these fragments of thought, and lay them aside. Don't judge any of the thoughts and feelings as you do this, and remember to proceed gently and with compassion. So what happens when we sift out the core material of those residual habits of thought with RTT? My client Patricia came to me because she was experiencing panic attacks when driving on the highway. As she would often be driving with her children in the car, these attacks also made her feel unsafe as a mother, as her children would see that she was anxious. They would pick up on this. It would rub off on them. So you can see the catch-22 this generates. Mother feels unsafe, children feel unsafe. Working with RTT, Patricia was able to reframe key events in her childhood and adolescence that had made her feel suffocated and not in control. Recalibrating her emotional responses to these events resulted in her feeling safe as a driver, trusting herself as a driver, unhampered by anxiety. She regained her independence, where she felt she could take herself anywhere she wanted to go, and her sense of reliability that she could be there for her children. So let's move on to the next steps. Step number 4, eliminate old patterns of thought and update with new and supportive ones. Think about the significance of those artifacts and how they impact on your life today. Think about coping mechanisms you adopted as a child or young adult when you felt you were faced with an insurmountable situation, when you felt helpless in the face of something. The solutions we enlisted as a child often rerun themselves, but they are not the ones we need as an adult. And step number 5, tell yourself another story. A better one is always available to you. It's not what happened to you that affects you, but the meaning that you assigned to what happened. As my client Patricia discovered, this meaning can be revisited, reframed, and changed. The truth about anxiety is that it is fantasy and means that you are living in the feeling of your thinking. When your habits of thought maintain your mind and body in a place of stress, you're not only fighting for, but you're also projecting for your limitations. Whenever I catch myself dropping into a spiral of unhelpful thoughts, I stop for 3 seconds and ask myself, how much of what I am thinking right now is true? It's good to remember that your mind has no stake in your happiness. Now, that might sound harsh, but the truth is your mind's number one job is to keep you safe. Think of how your thoughts are literally coloring in your perceptions and what habits would mold themselves around these perceptions. And then with these perceptions and these habits, what expectations would you have? What would you expect to attract? So what happens when you work with hypnosis to instill new habits of thought? You gain acceptance, the acceptance of letting go of old patterns, old familiar patterns that really no longer help you. How do you instill new habits of thought? I like to use the analogy of the saffron robes of Buddhist monks. The robes are dyed in successive stages. The cloth is submerged in a bath mixed with the saffron dye, and then the cloth is laid out to dry in the sun. The color fades. The cloth is picked up, put back in the bath. The process is repeated again and again until the cloth fades a little bit less, fades less each time. Finally, the cloth reaches a saturation point when it no longer fades. It holds its color, rain or shine. The same when you cultivate a safe and quiet space within your mind and start to listen. You find a place where you can stay. You find your holding place. This reflects the experience of Andreas, who was a client who came to me trapped in cycles of stress and anxiety about his job, a job which no longer suited his needs. He had had the same job all his life, but he kept telling himself, this is all I've done, this is all I know. Who else would look at me? What else could I do? There's a new job I'd like to apply for, but it means I'll have to learn some new technical things. I'm too old for this. I'm in my 50s. Andreas was able to let go of unhelpful recurring thoughts, let go of low expectations, and he found a new job, which enhanced his life. He learned the new skills he needed. He gained confidence. He was promoted within a matter of months in the new job. Better salary, better working conditions, better all around. So what's the next step? You can implement the 5 steps outlined in this masterclass and work to improve things on your own. This will undoubtedly help you to gain more insight, awareness, and clarity on your situation. However, without understanding how to work with your subconscious mind and really getting to grips with the root cause, this will only take you so far. The strength of hypnotherapy is that it really helps to dig down and understand how and why you react to difficult situations. It helps you to gauge your reactions and counter with a response that sets things on a more positive footing. It gives you grounding for your emotions. The beauty of working with RTT hypnotherapy is that you experience a pioneering method of hypnosis that gives your mind the scope to understand the feeling that drives your thinking, and it gives you the opportunity to rewire your mind, to find new ways to meet challenges. This makes a real difference between getting excited about an idea, the idea of making a change, and forming a sustainable habit to see results on your intention. What happens when you work with a certified RTT therapist who can guide you through these steps with expertise and personal support? Well, for one, you clear the mental debris. All those thoughts, those fraying, tangling loops of thoughts that are catching you up, tripping you up in the same place over and over again, clear the mental debris and rewire your mind for calm, focus, and creativity. You regain your capacity to exercise freedom of choice, confidence to be in the present. It's all about the present tense. Extract yourself from that ricochet chamber of the past future, rumination, projection, apprehension, and think, work, and act from the present moment. Cultivate the essential skill of pivoting. Now, it's no secret that we are living in very uncertain and challenging times, and the more flexibility of mind you have, the more presence of mind you gain, and the better placed you are to pivot to meet new challenges, changes, and make choices with more ease, joy, and grace. And finally, it enables you to disable distraction and be present. Be more present to engage with family and friends instead of being tied up in tangled loops of thought and apprehension. Be more present to yourself. That's the greatest gift of all. If you're thinking, I'm not ready yet, that's a sure sign that it's time to make a real change. For years, that was my personal mantra. And you can imagine how well that worked for me. I would not be here giving this presentation right now if I hadn't cleared the mantra of I'm not ready yet. I finally had enough of running around in circles. I sat down and I told myself, no more half-finished projects, no more compromised life, no more false starts. You have one life, and it really is for living right now. Are you ready to stop putting life on hold until you feel ready? Are you ready to connect and work with your future self to experience the best you can be in the here and now? Are you willing to do what it takes to effect a real transformation? If this is you, just click the calendar link and apply for a free consultation. I only work with 6 people at any one time, and I'm currently taking on a small number of new clients. The work I do is holistic and tailored to each individual's story and needs. I only work with people I believe I can help, so it's important we have that initial conversation to ensure you're a good fit for the method I use. Just some final thoughts. I like a good anagram. Think heart to earth, earthing your heart, planting those seeds, tending and watching them grow. Finding that place of growth allows you time to be still and silent. You shift from silent to listen. What do you hear in this space? If you come to that place when you start to think, I just can't do this anymore, everything is just too much, remind yourself, I can do scared. Remember that scared is an anagram of sacred. Reaching into that place of inner calm allows you to find the pattern and reset. So you can not only navigate, but you can also initiate challenges and be your own agent of change. To close, I just want to leave you with a simple statement. What is expected tends to be realized. Think of the difference in that shift from scared to sacred. The same letters, simple change in position. It's all about navigating that space, and you owe yourself that space.